I set the table. 2 plates, her favorite wine, candles that flickered like I imagined her smile would when she walked through that door. I know it sounds corny, but tonight was our anniversary. 7 years married, 10 together. And even though the last few months had been hard, cold silences, missed calls, the way she'd flinch when I reached for her hand, I thought tonight could be different. We'd made it through worse. So I cooked. I played our song, low, soft, barely filling the silence that had taken over our house. And I waited. I kept checking the clock, then my phone, then the front window, like a nervous teenager before prom. I had on the shirt she once said made me look like someone who still believed in love. I wore it for her. And at 6 p.m., she was just running late. At 6:30, I thought maybe traffic. By 7:15, I started to wonder. Not panic, not yet. Just that quiet feeling in your stomach that something isn't sitting right. The kind of feeling you don't want to say out loud because saying it makes it real. So I poured myself a glass of wine and left hers untouched. Still hoping. Still stupidly, pathetically hoping.
Claire and I weren't perfect, but we used to be solid, real. The kind of couple our friends pointed to and said, "You two give me hope." She used to leave notes in my coat pocket. Silly stuff. "Miss you already," or "Come home fast, I need your arms." We danced in the kitchen when the takeout was late. We dreamed of little beach towns and kids with her laugh. We survived her miscarriage, my job loss, her mother's cancer. All of it, together. Until this year. I don't know what shifted. She got quiet. First, I thought it was stress. Her new position at the firm, late nights, endless Zoom calls with her out-of-state clients. But even when she was home, she wasn't here. She stopped laughing at my stupid impressions. She started locking her phone. Not like before, when she'd toss it on the counter without a second thought. Now it was always face down, always silent, like some sleeping animal she didn't want me to wake. I asked if we were okay. She said she was just tired. I believed her. Because I wanted to. Because I needed to. Because the thought of losing her was so much worse than living in denial. So I planned this dinner. Not just for the memories, not for the date. It was a lifeline. A chance to remind her. We're still us. Even if we're bruised and limping, we're still breathing. But she never even called.
I waited 2 hours. The candles burned low, puddling wax onto the tablecloth Claire's mother gave us as a wedding gift. The wine turned bitter in my glass. The pasta dried under the broiler's warmth and then cooled, like me. I stared at the front door, expecting the sound of keys, her boots, that soft, rehearsed apology. "Sorry, babe, traffic was a nightmare. But you waited, didn't you? I knew you would." But nothing came. I texted. I called. Read. No reply. Delivered. No response. Maybe she forgot? Maybe it was a meeting that ran late. I wanted to believe the best in her. I always did. That's the problem with marrying someone who used to be your world. You keep assuming gravity still pulls the same way. Finally, I did something I swore I'd never do. I opened our shared location app. Not to spy, not to accuse, but because I was worried. Her dot wasn't in the city. It wasn't even in the state. It was blinking softly, like a warning light from a small town 3 hours north, a coastal place with no office buildings, no client headquarters, no family ties. Just a boutique inn and a beach. My heart dropped before I even zoomed in. The last time she'd mentioned that place, She told me it was where she ran into her old college friend on a business trip. I thought it was nothing. But now it felt like everything I'd trusted was cracking in silence.
I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even blow out the candles. I just sat there, at the dinner table set for two, now a shrine to my naivety. At 2:13 a.m., the location dot still hadn't moved. She was still there, with him, whoever he was. That's when something in me, something soft, finally cracked. I got up and walked to her closet. Maybe I was looking for a bag, a clue, a stupid reason. Half her side was empty. Her travel bag was gone. And that cardigan she always wore on planes, the gray one with the coffee stain on the cuff, gone. She didn't forget our anniversary. She'd left before it. I walked back into the living room, past the wine bottle we'd picked together on our honeymoon, and something in me just gave out. I sat on the floor, cold wood, head in my hands, and I cried. Not out of rage, not even betrayal, not yet. It was grief. Grief for something that had quietly died long before tonight, and I hadn't noticed. Or maybe I had, but I kept pretending I didn't. The worst part? There was a moment last week when I asked her what she wanted to do for our anniversary. She'd looked me dead in the eye and said, "Let's keep it low-key this year, just stay in. Maybe dinner?" She'd said it with such ease, such practice. She knew she wouldn't be here. That wasn't a woman who forgot. That was a woman who had already let go. I didn't text her. I didn't call. Not out of pride, but because I didn't know what I'd even say. What do you say to someone who ghosted your anniversary? By morning, I'd convinced myself I was being dramatic. Maybe she was there for work. Maybe it was an emergency. Maybe it would all make sense. I kept staring at her location like a fool, waiting for a miracle. And then, like a gut punch, her dot moved. Not toward home, not toward any airport, to a breakfast cafe in the same city, still hours away. That's when I did the thing I shouldn't have. I opened her laptop. I knew her password. She never changed it. She trusted me. Or maybe she just didn't care anymore. There was an open browser tab. Messages. Not to me. To him. Last night was perfect. The way you looked at me, I haven't felt that wanted in years. I forgot what it was like to be seen. He still thinks I'm on a work trip. I hate lying, but I'm not ready to destroy him. I stopped reading. Not because I couldn't handle more, but because I already had the only sentence I needed to understand. He still thinks. I was the lie. I was the thing she hadn't destroyed yet. It wasn't even the cheating that broke me. It was the softness in her words, the affection, the emotion she had reserved for a stranger. That tenderness used to be mine. It used to live in this house. Now it was gone. And I was just collateral damage in someone else's second chance at love.
She came home 2 days later. No explanations, no lies. Just a soft thud of her suitcase by the door and a quiet, "Hey." She didn't ask how I was, didn't ask what I'd been doing, like she was stepping back into a movie she'd paused and expected me to hit play. I wanted to scream, not out of rage, but grief. The
the kind of grief that sits behind your ribs and doesn't know how to escape. Instead, I asked, "How was the trip?" Her eyes didn't even flicker. Exhausting. That one word broke me more than any confession could, because it wasn't the lie that hurt, it was the casual cruelty of pretending there wasn't one. I didn't confront her, I didn't demand names or timelines, because when someone you love gives their heart to someone else, you already know. I cleaned up the table that night, the one still dressed from our anniversary. The candles had melted into a soft, waxy puddle. The wine had turned bitter. Everything I set with care now felt like a monument to my own foolishness. She went to bed early. I sat alone on the couch, rereading messages she never meant for me to see. Every word was another nail in the coffin of our marriage. But I read them anyway, because I needed to mourn who she used to be, the version of her that chose me, once. A week passed. We moved like ghosts, sharing the same walls, but not the same air. She made coffee in the mornings, hummed old songs in the shower, like nothing had happened. Like love could be paused, betrayed, and rebooted. I almost convinced myself to forgive her. Not because she earned it, but because I didn't know who I was without her. Then, one night, as I lay awake in that cold stretch of bed she no longer reached for, my phone buzzed. One message from her. Only, it wasn't meant for me. He suspects something. I think he's starting to put the pieces together. I'll handle it. I didn't respond. I just stared at the screen. She hadn't just strayed. She'd planned it. She was managing me like a loose end. The next morning, she came downstairs wearing my college hoodie like a trophy. "I thought maybe we could talk today," she said, with the softness of a hostage negotiator. And I just looked at her. "You're right," I said. "We should." She smiled. And that's when I handed her the phone, with the message still open. She froze. All the color drained from her face, like guilt had sucked the blood from her. I didn't mean. You did. And that's the problem. She tried to talk. I didn't stop her. But I didn't listen. Either. Because for the first time in months, I wasn't mourning her. I was mourning me, the version of myself that begged for crumbs, that waited by cold candles, that believed love could be held together by hope alone. I didn't yell. I didn't slam doors. I just walked upstairs, packed a bag, and left. No last words. No drawn-out goodbye. Some people bury you with silence. Others save you with it.